Hello, I'm Zerganat and welcome to my studio. Good evening, welcome to the stream as well. So, puns aside, we shall do some more pyrography. We shall cook some more wood and drink some more tea. Right, carrying on with more of the easy, hardish easy stuff. This evening, turn that down a little bit, turn it on. Give it a couple of seconds to come up to heat, which is about now. And let's finish off doing around this scroll here. Turn that on a little bit more as well. I think we got a bit too much heat on there to work comfortably in this sort of cramped environment of this area around here. Not a lot of space in here to get in with a largish shader like I've got here. Perhaps I would have been better using a smaller one like the spoon shader, but life isn't always as fun if you do go for the easy option. Could almost do with getting something like a Lazy Susan and putting it in an angle and fastening this to it. So I can both see it and spin it around. Okay, and now just do a quick, very quick colour of the top there. So it's got a light colour, and a really light colour. So it kind of resembles the gold. The pen's just cooling off a little from earlier when I turned it down. Actually, it cools down fairly quickly. There'll just be some areas that didn't quite cool off as quickly as others. So just making sure this stays lighter than the bit underneath it. Darken that down to emphasise it a little bit. And then just go over the bottom. To add that lighter gold banner, edge to the banner. God blimey, I can't. Not only can I not speak tonight, I'm also not really speaking much at all. Right, I need to make that banner darker just across there because this colouring is blending in with it too much. Let's have a bit more heat as well. Okay, now I need to darken this area down because that gold bit at the bottom there just isn't really visible compared to this. So we'll take it down a few shades. So that's the base level. Speedy, good evening, welcome to you. You are right. You are right, I was late as well, so that makes two of us. I guess the slight difference is though, you've got nothing to watch when I'm late. So how is world domination this evening? I think this music is relaxing me too much. Okay, Wolfie. Thanks. I shall call you Wolfie. Let's have a bit more heat. I trust everything is okay with you, Wolfie, today. I started the day off with a headache, and the rest of the day kind of followed suit, mostly. It wasn't quite a case of if it could go wrong, it did go wrong, but it was a day of lots of things going wrong. Still, in my job, that's what makes it interesting. Not that I want anything to go wrong, I kind of really would like it to go perfectly every time, but the fact that it doesn't makes life interesting. And I mean interesting there as in interesting as in right, so that's that bit done there. Now then, I think what we'll do now is do the shadow that's underneath here. Seems like a good thing. Build it up as we go along. So,
Yo, what's going on?
my brain just isn't communicating tonight. I am not doing a lot of talking. Okay, you'll be concentrating on that, and good luck. I'm guessing that's quite a significant bit going gold. I'm gonna get my brain just is not functioning very well today or tonight. I'm not getting words out. I'm getting words confused and all sorts of things. I was trying to say something I've forgotten. That I don't know. I was trying to say something. And now I've completely forgotten what it was I was trying to say. Sometimes when I'm streaming, I almost feel, I won't say feel like, that's wrong, but I could almost on some occasions turn the microphone off because I don't say a great deal and I don't know what the difference is. Some nights I don't stop talking, other nights it takes a bit to get going. And some nights it's really hard work, and I wish I knew why. Tonight's kind of like one of those nights where it's certainly hard to get going. It's just playing game after game after game. Special classes, so annoying. Okay. So you're currently playing a game that annoys you. Ow. A lot of heat coming off this tip. And it was straight onto my thumb. Anybody that's watching and wants to know what that's like, it's like holding your fingers over a candle. A lit candle. You can stand it for so long before you go ow and you have to move them. Well, one thing I did manage to get done today, whilst I was busy working, my PC was busy uploading. I think I uploaded about 20 gigabytes of video today. So after this stream is finished, I'll be spending the rest of the evening naming all the uploads and publishing them. So that'll be another 20 videos, which is closer. I think I still, on the disk, there's still 350. I'm moving them off the disk as I complete them. For two reasons. One, it gives me the disk space back, it gives me the backup space back, and it also saves me getting confused and uploading the same one twice, which isn't necessarily as easy to avoid as it sounds. But I've still got 350 videos to upload. Some of those are where Twitch has been twitchy and they're you know, might be 10 seconds long, and I'm not going to upload those. But still a lot of video to go. Which is why I've been uploading it all day today, to try and get through it a bit quicker. I think I uploaded about 20 files. But even at that rate, it's still sort of another couple of weeks before I get anywhere near being up to date. You have reordered your entire Discord. Okay. I have actually not really used Discord since I created an account on it when it was still back in beta. I think it was. I haven't actually used it for anything, and so I have no idea how it's organised or anything like that. Or what you can or can't do with it, for that matter. There's so much to look into and keep track of and things when you're using the internet for you know, like streaming, for example. You know, keeping track of all the updates for all the applications. But there's the social media sites and maybe new ones. Which reminds me, there's a couple I need to look into. Then there's maintaining the website, or trying to. Then there's maintaining the shop. Then there's things to do with the fact that I've got a shop, which is to do with applicable laws and things like that, and the right notifications and the right information is there to follow certain laws, and that also applies to the website, and to do with credit cards, and just so. Then that's before you start doing some of the more fun stuff, which I get into, like the home automation stuff, or some of the programming stuff, before I even get as far as touching something like Discord. It's a busy life when you're streaming things. Okay, that one's a hard shadow. Is that my PC doing that? Or was that on the music? Sometimes it's hard to tell. At least one thing, if I've got the sound set up right, you shouldn't hear the computer noises unless they come up through the microphone, because I should already have got those adjusted out. Yeah, so this is a lighter shadow at this side here. And I guess I really ought to bring a bit of the shadow just up the side there. Like that. Okay, next bit. Right. So there's a dragon's horn, right, which is just off the back of his jaw, which is about there, but this is in the middle of it, so we do to about there. Probably should do that a less heat because you get blooming. If you can see that just around there, there's a slight mark, which is caused by the fact that there's a hot tool nearby. That must be a bit higher than that. Out there. By turning the heat down and cooking the wood for longer, I should get less blooming around the place. And then we go around the back and we'll go all the way to the top there. So let's for the minute just assume that it's there. Ah, it's that computer. That time I heard where the noise was coming from. Right, let me change my glasses because I've forgotten to put my other ones on. And it'll be easier for me to see with the other ones on. Definitely a lot better. Just can't wear these when I'm not doing stuff like this because it makes my eyes go all weird. Right. That's another bit of this done now. So many tryhards. Okay. Well, I'm sure you're doing fine. So, okay, I've got to go all the way up there in black. Alright, well it's an easy bit to do, so let's do that. Again, I'm not going to work at full, I'm going to work at medium heat in doing this. It means that if I go over the edge, go near the edge, I don't actually cook this wood as well. So I'll start by going up the edge and then go up the other side so that I sort of do the nice sharp edges. And then I'll come back and fill the inside in. Actually, I could do with using a bit more heat on that. Oh, you're actually losing for once. Okay. So I'm moving the pen slowly, so I'm transferring a lot of heat to the wood, but it's still taking its time to cook, which is fine. It means I've got a lot easier job keeping this on track to create a straight line. It is actually a little bit slower than I'm comfortable with, so a bit more heat. There's a fine point though, sometimes you can add just a slight adjustment to the heat up and it can make a fairly radical change. Don't know why, it's almost as though there's a threshold which if you go over suddenly causes sudden heat changes. Now, one of the things I'm relying on at this point is the amount of heat which is being conducted into the wood. So if I take this off the wood and then keep it off for a few seconds and put it back, because I'm really heating up this tool quite a bit, I will get a really sudden, almost carbonisation. I've got to watch because I don't want that. I was reading last night that this particular machine is supposed to have one of the best heat recovery times amongst all the various machines. But since I was reading it on the manufacturer's own website, I take that with as much salt as I can stand, as they say. But it does recover quite quickly. I've never seen sort of an independent review of them that says that. I guess one of the things I ought to do, having used this tool, this machine, for 2 years now, at least 2 years, and it's actually more than that. I've had it quite a few. I'll have to look up when I actually got it. I'm probably reasonably qualified to do a review on it. Maybe I'll do that next weekend. Not a lot to compare it against though, because it's the only pyrography tool that I've actually owned. I have used a soldering iron, but it's just not. It's not fair to compare this with a soldering iron. It's a completely different class of machine. The thing I can say though is I haven't actually come across anything on this machine where I would have gone, if I'd known that before I started I wouldn't have bought it, for example, so I guess that's good. There are some things which I wish were potentially better. The fixing for the pen, or the cable into the pen. I'm not fantastically keen on these connectors for the high current, but they are also meant for heavy duty audio, which is actually surprisingly power hungry, of course, so I guess that potentially they're okay, but I do find that the connection inside the pen works its way loose in a while. It's just a round piece of metal that's being bent into a round circle. That's what those connectors are. And they gradually, as you use them, ease apart a little bit, which makes a loose connection, and you lose a lot of heat then in there, and you have to sort of manipulate a sharp object inside just to close up the points again. So that's kind of one thing I don't like about them, or would prefer if it was better. I do like the fact that I can change pens so easily. I can change pens within seconds. So it kind of doesn't, for when I got the pen out, of course, it doesn't disrupt any sort of creative flow, as they say. In that I can literally change a pen that quickly, which I do like about these this particular machine and the way it's working. So far I haven't found anything where it's not had sufficient heat, for example. So I've been able to do whatever I want it to do with it. And I also like the fact that I can directly connect two pens. I don't need to use an externally wired adapter like I would have with some other machines. Although, you know, it's not fantastically a difficult thing to do. And there again, given that you can swap pens on this machine so fast, if it didn't have this twin pen capability, I wouldn't really miss it all that much. And given, as I say, it takes seconds to change a pen, it probably takes longer to actually physically reach for the other pen, switch it over and bring it back than to swap this pen over. But so maybe the single pen version of this machine would be perfectly adequate as well. One of those things that I didn't actually, I guess, know at the time I bought it, and kind of assumed that it would be really nice to have two pens, and it is really nice to have two pens set up ready to go. But it's not necessarily a necessity to have one like that. And indeed it would be entirely possible without too much difficulty to arrange it so I could have every pen I've got plugged in simultaneously. It wouldn't take much of an adapter to make, a switched adapter which would let you go, I'll have that pen or that pen or that pen, and have them all plugged in simultaneously. So one thing I have noticed, and it's maybe down to the pyrography that I've been doing, and that is I effectively only need 2 or maybe 3 pens to do this with. I haven't really found any need to use more than that. I can make use of more than that. You know, for example, doing large areas, there's a wider shader than this. The only difficulty with the wider shader is it's got hotspots on it. This one has as well, and I have to be aware of that. Otherwise, I can get areas of the wood that cook faster than others, and you can end up with banding. Whew. One thing I sometimes forget to do is to breathe, which also doesn't really help. But don't worry, if you see me disappear underneath the desk, I'll probably be back up again within a couple of seconds. Of course, it's a lot easier if I just remember to actually breathe. Which reminds me, I've got a computer fan out somewhere. I was going to set that up to act as a slight blower. You have to be careful. I don't want to blow a gale, because it would, in fact, it's probably better sucking rather than blowing, I guess. Because I don't want to, blast the reference drawings, for example, or other bits of paper I've got over there, all over the place. But I only need a gentle breeze just to blow the vapour that's rising off this away, so it doesn't come towards me. Interestingly, if I use the fan to suck rather than to blow, well, it blows out the other side, but if I turn it round so it blows away from where I am, so sucks air across, that's a lot more gentler. Still the same amount of volume of air is moving, but it's gentler, and so it doesn't disturb things like the paper. So, unfortunately, I guess pyrography takes quite a while to do. It's not as fast, for example, as drawing with a pencil, and potentially not even as fast as painting. Just from the point of view, you can put paint on fairly quickly with pyrography. The time that it takes is proportional to how dark you want it to be. So if you want a particularly dark thing like this, then you've got to apply a lot of heat, and that takes time to transfer. Even although I am here using quite a hot tool to do it, it's still taking a reasonable amount of time to transfer that heat into the wood, and therefore cook it to a dark texture, so a dark colour. So sometimes areas like this can be more challenging, or even these, than what you might think of as the main drawing, because of you're trying with a lot of this, for example, you're trying to get a consistent colouring across the whole thing, which is not as easy as it sounds. It's especially when you're not doing as dark as you can get it, because even that actually can be quite difficult to do. But it's things like the straight edges as well. You kind of have to slow down to be able to do straight edges. Now, when we come to doing something like the main picture here, the straight edges are more woolly. So it's plus we're not using, or not going to be using, as dark a pyrography on it, so that will hopefully progress quite quickly. But at the moment what I'm doing is, despite the fact that it's kind of challenging to keep consistent colours and straight edges, I'm finding it easier than I would be to do that, so I'm kind of avoiding that bit at the moment. Leazar, hello, good evening, welcome to the studio this evening. I haven't seen you for a while now. How are you doing? How have you been? I think you've got that greeting programmed on the macro key, haven't you? Because you do that every time you come into the stream. Now, I think part of the idea of this and the original sort of image is that it's kind of like stone and things like that. So some variation is fine. I just don't want a lot of variation. There are times when I find doing this kind of almost magical. You move this metal tip, which is perfectly dry, across wood, and you leave this colour behind. It's almost like the sort of paint is coming out of the inside of the tool. Of course I know what's really going on, but it's a fantasy. Now, at high heat levels like this that I'm using to create this really dark colour, the wood gets really rather soft and pliable. It's a little bit like clay, soft clay, and it's very easy to dig the tool in, or push it in, and create a tooling mark. Very much like if you had something like this and you just pushed it slightly into the clay. The same sort of thing is happening here with the wood. So I'm having to be careful to kind of float this tool over the wood so that I don't actually create sort of random indentations in it. It kind of means holding it on the wood but without putting any pressure on the wood. If you start getting sort of dimples and tooling marks, they reflect light differently, and it kind of looks like you've been hacking at it with a chisel. Of course, for some things like stone, perhaps it might make a good effect, but often it doesn't. So whilst I'm doing this, let me tell you a little bit about this channel, the Zaragan Art channel. Zaragan Art because that's me, Zaragan, and it's art. Who does art it? So the two go together. The main reason the two go together though was because on at least one website, Zaragan was taken, and I'd already used Zaragan Art elsewhere when I needed to have a business account for something, and it seemed like a good name at the time, so I kind of became Zaragan Art. So that's me, although Zaragan is something I also thought I'd go by, so it's Zaragan and Art. But art is obviously a concept, it's not a thing as such. I do many forms of art on this stream, and various types of those many forms as well. So here you're seeing pyrography, also known as wood burning, although as I often say, I don't burn wood. This isn't burning wood, it isn't there's no flames, it's not oxidizing, it's kind of cooking. Very much, as I also describe it as, a bit like making toast. If you ever make toast, similar sort of process. And indeed you could put pyrography on toast if you really wanted to. And you can do pyrography on all sorts of surfaces, usually organic surfaces. Wood being one of them. Goods, bone, paper, card, all of these will take pyrography. We also do carving with sharp chisels, really sharp chisels, hand carving as well, so we're using hand chisels, not ones that we hit with a mallet. And also in the category of carving, from time to time we'll use knives. I have a couple of knives that I use for carving. They're also really sharp. They're even more dangerous looking though, because you're holding the piece in one hand and you're using a sharp knife in the other. I wear a Teflon glove when I do that. Carbon fibre Teflon. Yeah, so it's a lot harder to cut myself. Not that I've ever tried, if you see what I mean, but it does. Accidents do happen, and I'm prepared for it. I also do rotary carving. I don't think I've done any of that on stream, but high speed rotary carving. So using power driven tools to carve wood. And in fact, one of the ones I would really like to have, just to see what it's like, and perhaps carve with, well, it would be to carve with, is for at least one of the rotary tools that I've got, you can get a reciprocal handset. So instead of the tool spinning, it goes in and out, rather like a real chisel. It's like a miniature hammer on the chisel, and I can see that being quite an interesting tool to use. So I will one day I will save up for and get myself one of those. And what else do we do on this stream? Well, I've recently done some airbrushing, which is quite interesting. Doing some monochrome work on paper and some three-dimensional work on some vases that I've got down here, or some prep work for it anyway. They will be something that gets done on stream when the inspiration strikes me to do a complete a vase. I've got 6 down here. I probably will get some form of Greek scene on them. And then what else do we do on this stream? Scraper board. Again, that's one that a lot of people haven't really heard of. Scraper board. This again is a black and white medium. This time it's really black and white, because it's the board is black. It's black ink over a really white china clay. And when you scrape through the ink, the white gets revealed, and you make your picture by scraping away the black ink from the top. And there's some you can get some really striking pictures, night scenes, and space scenes. Absolutely fantastic medium for doing that. I didn't actually want to do that. Never mind. And what else? Punchcraft. Punchcraft is kind of like miniature rug making, so that in itself is quite fun. You'll see occasionally in the right hand side here some woolly looking pictures. That's because they are kind of woolly looking pictures, and there's 2 railway engines, and they are made out of made using Punchcraft. That's a good one if somebody's annoyed you, because it uses a really sharp needle. If somebody's annoyed you, you can imagine they are the canvas that you're punching this needle through, and you can really get a lot of frustrations out. Facecam is dead. It has. Right, thank you. I wonder why that. I hadn't noticed that. Let me restart that camera. Deactivate and reactivate. There we go. Thank you very much for that, Wolfie. I don't see I haven't got a feedback window in front of me to see that, so I don't know why that went to sleep. I suppose I should have realised because it didn't have a blue light on it, but I don't kind of go looking at the camera to see whether there's a blue light on it. So, what else do we do? Oh yes, the chainmail, the jewellery stuff. After all, there's a lot of jewellery showing up over there on the right hand side. Now I'm looking at the camera, looking at the window, because that's all been done on stream as well. That's another thing that gets done on stream, and kind of, yes, jewellery is kind of an art form, of course. And I make all the things that you see there, which chainmail. In fact, everything you see in that image, on that window there, has been made on stream. So they are sort of examples of what is done on this stream from time to time. So in terms of chainmail, there's there is sort of various forms of chainmail. I don't know, I can't think of any off the top of my head. That's currently there is called Kumahimo braiding. That's also something that was done on stream. That's a wrap around bracelet with magnetic clasps. So it wraps around your wrist a couple of times, or 3, and then just clicks together like that as the 2 ends are magnetic. And you can always put other things on that rope as well. So you can sort of put like a charm on it, for example, with a ring and a small charm, and it will just float on there. So an interesting sort of thing to do is that. And there's another form of jewellery. Oh yes, the beading, the beadwork, and I think that will also show up in there. But bracelets made up of either teeny tiny little glass tubes, glass beads of a millimetre or so in width or length, or some larger ones, which are also some of the larger ones I've made into spiral bracelets, for example. That look quite nice. Nameless warning. I was reading that song title then and wondering what somebody was talking about. And I'm missing one. I know I'm missing one. There's 6 now. Well, at least 6 now. Glass engraving. Well, that's a 7th. So yes, engraved glass, as well as carving wood, we carve glass. Just a little bit more shallower though. Although actually, having said which, with the glass engraving, you can actually get quite deep. It depends on the glass that you're engraving, of course. If you're doing something like crystal glass, which is quite thick, you can go sort of half a centimetre deep in glass engraving and get some quite spectacular images that way because of the three-dimensionality you can get out of it. Whereas sort of glass panes, for example, or in the case of what we were doing here on the stream recently, recycled coffee jars, they're not that thick, so you tend to just surface engrave on those. And I'm trying to think what else. There's I always used to do 5 when I started streaming, and it's now about 7 or 8 that we do regular. I mean, magic dots is another one that's sort of fairly regular. That's sort of a painting by numbers type of thing, but it uses plastic dots that you stick down. But it produces a nice sort of image. Ah yes, the face cam is still working, which is good. But there again, from time to time, we do also do things like there's a 3D printer just over. Half a 3D printer, I guess, because it's not fully assembled yet, which we started assembling on stream, and it's still there to be finished. I haven't had enough time so far to get around to finishing that. We did build a quadcopter on stream once. That was a long time ago, but we did build one. Didn't fly it on stream because I needed to fly it outside for its first test flight, and that was in winter. So I did record it and we did play it on stream. So those people that were watching at the time, did get to see you fly a quadcopter on stream. And I think the video for that may have been uploaded onto YouTube by now. I'm not sure. If not, it will do within the next so many weeks, as I'm gradually uploading the whole of the archive. We made a doorbell on stream once as well, or rather the sounder for a doorbell, not the doorbell itself. So that was a soldering stream, was that? So it says below the window I'm a variety streamer. I think that kind of qualifies. Sat around here somewhere, some perlers for me to do when I can find a photograph that I want to do in perler style. I haven't really come across one yet that I want to do, but it's there ready for when I do. What else do we have sat around to be able to do? Plastic, there's various plastic kits. I'm not going to do any of the sewing on stream, I don't think, just because that... I don't know whether that would be boring or not to watch. I mean, some people do. Different audience, I guess, to do things like the cross stitch. But what else? What else is lying around here? All ready to be. There's a fair number of things that have all been sort of put to one side to do as time allows. And unfortunately, when I start streaming, that's about the only time allows. Because I can either do some of these new things, or I can stream. And generally speaking, I'm streaming, so you on the stream do tend to get treated, shall we say, to new crafts from time to time as I try something new out. Yeah, then what I want to do is take this and fade it into that dark at that end. So if you're interested in seeing lots and lots of different things done, then feel free to, of course, push that button at the top right which says follow. Follow the stream, get notifications from when I'm live. You can pop in, see if you like what it is that I'm doing, stay and watch, or pass on to something else. But if you also enjoy what you see, I would actually sort of ask you to consider at least pushing the subscription button as well. You can even use a free Prime subscription if you happen to have one, if you're a Prime member, and support the stream. To do all these crafts and things. I do a variety of things, and even and the subscriptions go towards mainly sort of materials and stuff. Anything that comes in like tips or donations. Buying good quality wood for pyrography, for example, isn't a particularly cheap sort of activity. It's also time consuming because finding good wood is hard. It isn't the sort of thing you can just nip down to the home centre and purchase. Unfortunately, it would be nice if you could, but you can't. The sort of materials you get for construction, which you get in home centres, are really obviously they're not intended for pyrography, they're intended for construction, and usually people don't really care much about what it looks like because it gets covered over and painted and things like that. Yeah. Well, I'm kind of surprised tonight. Yesterday in the UK was Guy Fawkes Night, where we celebrate somebody trying to blow up the Parliament by setting off explosives. Not quite sure I understand the logic of it, but that's what happens. And Friday night, Saturday night and Sunday night especially, because that's the actual night of the celebration, there was lots of bangs and whistles and hisses and all sorts of noises going on outside as people let off fireworks. What's kind of surprised me is that we've not had any tonight. I know quite a few people, obviously at the weekend there's likely to be more, and there was obviously a few early. Especially with the UK weather, they're getting them in whilst they've got good weather. But I'm also kind of surprised that nobody's kept any for today. But at least it's quiet out. Not bad, not bad, not bad, not bad. So, alright. Next bit. It's just a bit around here. Yeah, looks okay. Right. Let's do a little bit. Let's see what we can do around the number 8. And this is going to be quite dark around here. It's in shadow. I can't do blue. One of these days I'm going to experiment actually with colour. You can apply coloured pencils or pigment to pyrography, and then do pyrography through the colour, and it kind of bakes the colour in and produces some interesting effects, which I'm going to have an experiment with one day. It would then be possible, for example, and you can get some quite striking effects by doing the whole of this in pyrography and then doing just that number like there in blue, which is the colour that is on the card. And it just kind of pops out then because of that. Ow! I'm doing it again. What I find myself sometimes doing when the music's playing is using the pen in time to the music. And of course that doesn't always work out as well as it might do, just from the point of view that you're not applying as much heat when you're moving the tool faster over the wood. Whew. Right. I'm kind of staying away from that for the moment. I know I'm not going to mess. Well, I don't know. I'm hoping I'm not going to make a mess of it. But I'm reasonably confident I'm not going to make a mess of it, so I'm leaving it well last because it's later because it's quite a complicated bit. But there again, if I do mess it up, it ruins the whole thing. And there again, so doing it sooner rather than later and finding out whether I was successful or not is probably a good idea. But Yeah, but there's always that but in there. Now then, let me just put a line across there. Like that. Yeah, that's kind of what I expected it to be like. Whenever you're doing pyrography, you always have to bear in mind that you can't erase mistakes. So if you make them, you've got you've got three choices. You can either try and erase it. There are sort of techniques that will let you erase it. Mainly that's kind of scraping or sanding the surface off. That's never fantastically successful. It might take the layer off, but unless you want to leave it wood coloured, natural wood coloured, then if you try and put pyrography over the top, because you change the surface texture, it stands out quite, and it's more visible sometimes than the mistake was. The other thing you can do is hide it, and that is sort of do something so that it's not immediately visible like what the mistake is. And the third thing is you just throw the thing in the bin and start again. And if you've got several hours into a piece of work, well, you do still sometimes have to do that. And it's kind of cut the loss and move on. Sometimes that's the best course. I'm kind of lucky in that I've never had to do that yet. I have made mistakes, and I've hidden them. And I did try once erasing a mistake, but it doesn't work. One of the things I might try and haven't yet tried, and that is using something like an isopropyl solvent, because it may well dissolve some of that colouring. I've never tried it, and one of these days I will, but just not yet. Generally speaking though, again, if you put isopropyl alcohol or any other solvent onto the wood, you will again change the surface texture. You'll raise the grain or something similar to that, and again when you put pyrography over the top, it will show up. So essentially you hide it or you throw it away, and hiding it is usually the only option, especially when you say you've put several hours into it, like on this particular piece there's a mistake. And given that I've made it in this stream, I have decided to hide it and see how it goes. May ultimately still have to throw it away, or maybe it'll just be a piece with a mistake in it, but we carry on nonetheless. Because if you're watching now, you're quite welcome to see if you can spot it. You probably need to know the card in order to actually spot it, but No, it's not. It's nearby, but it's not. You see, and no, it's actually quite a big mistake. And when you know where it is, it's very visible. But I'm not going to tell you. What's the right way up now? Of course, now that I know where it is, I can see upside down and back to front. So. Just shows you how good I am at hiding the mistakes. Right, I shall carry on with the number 8. No. Maybe on the next stream. Maybe on the next stream I'll tell you. I'll keep you in suspense until then. I'll give you the opportunity to study it in more detail. You'll have to look at some of the pictures then, Wolfie, and see if you can spot it from pictures. In other words, you lost. You lost, so you're not playing anymore. The same retarded, brainless deck that beats yours. Yeah. Yeah. That's why they play those decks, because they're powerful and people like to win easily without any effort. That's why a lot of strategy games people don't necessarily like to play, because they can't win easily. It's 9 PM in the UK. So, so have to prove them wrong. Prove your skill using an intelligent deck. That's less powerful unless you know how to use it, which I don't, so I can't say anything about it. I think we're going to call that a stream. We could call it a banana, but it seems a bit pointless. And quite what it's got to do with water as well. I mean, streams, water, anyway. Funny words. Funny words. We're going to say that's going to be it for this evening. It's come up to 9 o'clock. I've just finished that number 8. The blue gem. For the number 8 there. And I think that's a good sort of starting point from where to begin next time. And a good ending point for this particular stream. It's getting on quite well, is this actually? I'm quite pleased with the progress. I'd kind of like it to progress a little bit faster, but it isn't going to. It takes as long as it takes. Wood only cooks at a certain speed. That is, unless you really want to go silly and ruin the whole thing. So, a few points before we go for this evening, and we wrap it up and hand you back over to your normal service on Twitch. And that's the blue box at the bottom. It's been sat there for the whole stream, staring you in the face, and you've not actually been watching it, which is good because it doesn't move. The bit above it moves, and I'm sure they've caught your eye. They're all stuff that's done on the stream. Incidentally, all of those, the jewellery at least, is available in the shop in that blue box. sarahganart.etsy.com. You can buy any of those jewellery items in the shop. And if you can't find it in the shop, you can always drop me a message and we can see about either putting it in the shop or selling it outside of there. There's the social media sites down there if you would like to keep up with what's going on the with regard to the channel and Zarganart in general. And Twitter, of course, is the more immediate one than Facebook. And I usually tweet when I go live, for example, and when I'm not going live. As in when I can't go live when I expect to. And of course, Pyrography.com is my own website. There's a little bit of explanation about some of the crafts. There will be more as I get a chance to work on it. And YouTube, all the old... I keep looking over there. I know what's down on it, and I still keep looking at it. I'm doing it again. YouTube.com, all the old archives. So tonight's broadcast will eventually appear on YouTube. It just won't be for a little while. I'm starting at the earliest videos I've got, and I'm working forward. I've still got 350 to go before I get to tonight's, and that's a heck of a lot, but I'm uploading them as fast as I am able to do so. So if you'd like to see any of the old broadcasts, they are gradually going up on there at the moment, and there'll be a whole load more go live tonight. And of course the final thing is top 2 buttons to the right hand side of the screen there. The follow me button if you would like to come back and see the and see the stream. Of course you'll get me in your follower list and following list, and see me on that page if I'm live, and get notification if you've allowed Twitch to do it, and of course the subscription button if you'd like to help contribute towards the channel and keeping me in the wood that we use on the stream, for example, or buy replacement tools, that sort of thing. And Wolfie, in around 2 years. No, actually it's getting quicker. I think I uploaded 20 today, so about 20 to 30 gigabytes of data I uploaded today. It's a good job I'm on an unlimited plan, isn't it? With the amount of video I've got, it's getting down now, I had 3/4 of a terabyte of video to upload. Let's say 350, even at 20 a day. That's still going to take a fair number of days, but we will get up to the point where eventually we're just 24 hours behind. I can't upload tonight's video even if I wanted to. My contract doesn't allow that. I can't do that while tomorrow night. So you'll always be 24 hours behind on YouTube. And I will hopefully get a chance to do some YouTube exclusive videos as well at some point. Just not yet. I can only do so many videos in one go. But I will do things like some of the time lapses. So the carving of Ruth, for example, I think I'm up to something like episode 31 and it's not even half done. So what I would intend to do at least is to try and collapse all of that down into half an hour. How on earth you collapse down hundreds of hours of video into 30 minutes? I'm not sure. I'm not even sure my video editor would do that. It's almost kind of like taking 10 seconds of video from each stream. Anyway, that's my problem. I'll sort it out when we get there. So with that, I hope to be able to stream tomorrow night. If I can't, I will do as much as I can as usual and tweet that out if there's any real problem with me streaming. But otherwise I will start somewhere between 1900 hours and 2000 hours UK time, that's on GMT. And we go on for 1.5 to 2 hours, finishing somewhere between about 9.5 past, which is kind of what it is now, between 9.5 past. And with that, I hope I'll see you on tomorrow night's stream. Bye for now.